Hey guys, my co-host from Inner Space, Morgan Hoffman, is out there. Where's Morgan? There she is. And she's going to be taking your audience questions. So if you have a question for Stan, please raise your hand and Morgan will find you. But Stan, right out of the gate, I want to ask you, did you ever think the characters that you created would become so big in the world of film like we're seeing with the Marvel films?
Never.
Never?
See, that's why I'm a good interviewee. I give these long, interesting replies. No, never.
Then you're glad about it.
Can you all hear him without the mic?
I just asked if Stan was...
Paid a lot of money for that mic, so I get used to it.
Yes, sir. I asked if Stan is surprised by the fact that these characters he created have become so big via the films of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Did you ever think it would be this huge?
No, of course not. When I was doing those comics, I just hoped that the magazines would sell so I'd keep my job and be able to pay the rent. I never for a minute... If I had known it would be that big, I'd have become an actor. I want to be Robert Downey.
But you are a bit of an actor. Do you enjoy doing the cameos in the films? Do you guys look forward to Stan's cameos?
I have bad news for you. I was supposed to be in Montreal today doing the cameo for X-Men, the new X-Men movie. But I said, no, I'm going to visit my friends in Toronto instead. And I wasn't in Wolverine because they shot that in Australia, and it was too far for me to swim. But, in most of the others, I'll be popping up.
Do you have a favorite cameo that you've done?
No, I love them all. Every time I see myself on the silver screen, I say, damn, I never knew I was that good.
Any questions from the audience at this point? Just toss up your hand. Oh, there we go. Morgan will find you.
See, that was excess wordage. When you say any questions from the audience, who else would the questions be from? We've only got the audience.
That's right.
See, that wastes a lot of time. From the audience, that's 3 extra words we didn't need. I've got to educate you.
I don't want any trouble, Stan.
Go ahead.
Out there, hello.
Hi! First I want to say, Stan, welcome to Canada. Thank you so much for coming to Toronto. My question is, I'm a huge fan of the series Marvel vs. Capcom. I was wondering, what was it like being able to do a crossover with Capcom?
You wondered what?
What was it like being able to do a crossover with Capcom, Marvel vs. Capcom?
It was good. All of those things, they're fun, they're exciting, they're enjoyable, and it's what makes being in this business so really enjoyable.
Great. Another question, Margo?
Hi Stan, my name is Jared. I was wondering what's harder, adamantium or vibranium?
Oh gosh. Well, let's see, the last time I tested them in my lab, actually it depends on who's writing the story and who wants the one or the other to be harder or stronger, because they've never really been pitted against each other. And, of course, that may make a good story idea. I'll claim I thought of it myself. Nobody will know about this. That's good. Thank you very much, and I'm not paying you anything for it.
In terms of coming up with stories and with characters, can you tell us about how you first started coming up with superheroes?
I don't even remember. It was my job. I had to come up with superheroes or I'd have been fired. So I did it, that's all. You know, when your boss says come up with a superhero and you figure I have food bills and rent to pay, you damn well better come up with a superhero. So, in those days, I didn't think much of it. We were doing other books too. We were doing all kinds of comics. We were doing, of all things, romance comics, war comics, mystery comics, horror comics, you name it, we were doing them. And then we found out that DC, which was then called National, that their books, the Justice League, was selling well. So my publisher said, hey Stan, why don't you do some superheroes? We'll put them in a team. So that was an order, so I did the Fantastic Four. Then he said, hey, that sold pretty well, do something else. And that started it, and I didn't give it much thought. I mean, I didn't think, gee, why am I doing this and how am I doing it? I just thought I damn well better do it.
Other question? I didn't say audience, I just said another question. Thank you.
Hello, Stan. Has anybody here ever watched his biography of Stän Li with great power?
My phone doesn't.
You mean with great power?
With great power. Seeing your video, I'm not going to ask about your history of work, or I'm asking about your life, like with your wife, and with today's day and age that we need a great wisdom. What is, for singles and married people already, what's the great secret for your marriage? What makes a marriage strong?
You know, you have to forgive me when I ask Teddy to repeat it. My hearing isn't as good as it was. I hear what you say, I just have trouble making out the words, so give it me briefly.
He wants personal advice, and he wants to know what makes a strong marriage.
Oh, now we're on that subject. I'm in the wrong place. See, I don't know. I was very, very, very lucky. When I was a kid, I always, and I imagine most kids do, I always fantasized, I imagined the kind of girl I would like to marry and hoped I'd someday find her and figured I never will. And one day I bumped into my wife, and she was the girl I had been fantasizing about all my life, so I grabbed her. And that was it, you know, and she's just great. Although she's not, well, there are bad things about her. Two things, I'll tell you. I come to these conventions and I'm treated like a real VIP, you know, and it's so terrific having an audience, people listening to me. Out in the street, nobody pays any attention. But I go home after all this wonderful reception I get here, and I go home, and what does my wife say when I walk in? Did you take out the garbage? That's not nice. No, she doesn't really, but it's a funny story. She doesn't really say that. She says, you better take out the garbage. Now, the other thing, years ago, I wrote all these stories, the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, the Hulk, and so forth, on what they called then a Remington noiseless portable typewriter. It was a little typewriter. It really made noise. The name wasn't accurate, but they called it a noiseless portable. And all those stories were written on this little typewriter. One day, Jody and I were having an argument, and she's Irish and has a hot temper. And to prove that she disagreed with me, to prove that I was wrong, she took this typewriter and smashed it on the floor, and it broke into a million pieces. I said to her the other day, do you know what we could auction that typewriter today? And all the things I could have bought you with that money didn't get because you broke the typewriter, so I had my revenge. Which probably hasn't answered your question at all, but I don't know the answer.
Take out the garbage. Yeah.
Hi,
Hello.
Stan. Hi. I'm Michelle, and I want to ask a personal question about you. I know you're 92 now, I believe. I want to know what your secret is to living so long. So long. What's your secret?
Don't die. I think maybe it helps to enjoy what you do. I really love being with the people I'm with, working with artists and writers and directors and actors and people like that. And it's fun. It's not like working, so it's like every day I get up and I go out to play. So that keeps you kind of happy and excited, and if that's part of it, maybe that helps. Also, I think luck plays a little bit there, right? Also.
You talked about creating characters. A character that you've recently created is the Annihilator, the Chinese superhero. What can you tell us about the Annihilator?
Well, I decided to do what I could to have better relations between China and the U.S. Because obviously you know the power that I wield. So I decided, I met some Chinese big producers, and we decided we would do a movie together. And I made up a superhero called The Annihilator. I love that name. And you better watch out for him because he annihilates. And we're doing it together. It's not a Chinese movie, it's a movie for the whole world. But the hero will be a Chinese actor who speaks perfect English and is very handsome for all you American and Canadian girls. But anyway, it's a co-American and Chinese production. And we're hoping it'll be a real big movie. It'll probably come out in another year or so. We're just looking for a director right now. We've got the actor, we've got everything set. And that's The Annihilator.
You gonna go see it?
You better like it.
Question right here.
Yeah. Hi, Stan. I'm a big fan, and I just wanted to just pick your brain a little bit about Stan Li's Superhuman, because you're showing the History Channel.
I wanted to ask about Stэн Li's Superhumans.
Oh, that's the funniest show. Somebody called me once and asked if I'd like to participate in a show about people with superpowers. I find it hard to say no, so I said sure. So we did it, and everybody who sees it loves it. And it's now, I think, in its second season, but it was an English company that did it and called me and asked me to be part of it. I have never heard from that company since. People ask me, how's the show doing? I say, I don't know. They ask me, will there be another series? I don't know. Sooner or later, I think they ought to call me. But I do think it's a great show. I'll tell you a thing that struck me as very funny. For those of you who haven't seen it, it features people who do things that really should be impossible, but they can do them. They have their own superpowers. One guy that I remember takes a, what do you call it? These machines that turn around, a screwdriver, an electric screwdriver or something, and he puts it against his forehead and turns on the power, and he's like that with this damn thing against his forehead. So I said to myself, what makes a man get up in the morning one day and say, I'll bet if I put an electric screwdriver to my forehead, I could do it. But there you go, these are the people I deal with. You wonder why I'm less than 100% sane.
What is the strangest thing that's ever happened to you?
What is the greatest? Here's what I heard. Think that ever happened.
No. Strangest.
I can't even get that right. What is the strangest thing? Probably being here, not knowing what the hell to say and facing all you people. I don't know. The strangest thing. I really, I'd have to get back to you on that. I can't think of anything at the moment. Maybe the guy with the thing against his forehead, but that didn't happen to me, did it? What the heck? If there's another panel tomorrow, show up. Maybe I'll have thought of the answer, but I really can't think of anything. My whole life is strange.
Well, a lot of people have been watching your YouTube channel, Stän Li's World of Heroes, and you do your rants on there, Stan's Rants, which are so much fun. Do you enjoy doing those, and how did those come about?
Oh, I enjoy doing them because it gives me a chance to complain about all the things that bother me. And, you can't live in this world for a number of years without a lot of things bothering you. So I do my rants, and the public is very strange. A lot of people love it. And I said to myself, people must like to hear other people who complain. I never knew that. So maybe I'll start a new superhero, the complainer.
Where's Morgan? There we go. Hello.
Hi, Stan. Thanks for coming again to Toronto. We love having you here. Just wanted to ask you, I really missed the show Who Wants to Be a Superhero? And it was sad that it ended. Is there any chance that POW Entertainment might bring it back again on TV?
I could make that up.
Could POW Entertainment bring back Who Wants to Be a Superhero?
No, I don't think we could. It's all tied up in legal stuff that I don't understand. But We are working on a new show. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it because, well, I'll give you a hint.
We won't tell.
I know that you all can keep a secret. But we're working on a new television series. It's a reality show in which we're trying to find the very best superhero artist and writer we can find. And it'll be like American Idol and things like that. We eliminate people every week, which I hate to do. I'm going to get somebody else to be the judge. And until we finally have the world's greatest people, and we're working on that now and we're developing it. So remember, you heard it first here, and you better watch it so that we get it right.
Working in the world of comic books today. You support the Eagle Initiative and you seem to be very supportive of young talent coming up. Do you feel like it's a good time for comic book creators and the people that are creating characters now?
It's always a good time. It's always a difficult time. It's not easy to break in. But people are all... Anybody who's honest about what he does, any producer or editor, should always be looking for new talent. Because you have to keep finding new talent. So now is a good time, 10 years ago was a good time, and 10 years from now will be a good time. Because no matter how many great people there are in a field, you're always looking for the second generation that'll come along and do better. Of course, I hate that. When I gave up doing comics, people came along and did better, but I try to ignore that.
Hello. Oh, hey.
Hey, Dave. Stan, when you did the Stэн Li Superhumans, what was the most extraordinary power that you encountered?
When you did Stэн Li Superhumans, what was the power that was extraordinary other than the drill in the head?
Well, there were so many. One that I remember, and again, I wondered what made this guy decide to wake up one morning and try this. But he had like a 30-foot tower, and he'd climb up to the top of it. Really big, he was high up. And there was a little children's wading pool, a little plastic pool with about 3 inches of water in it. And this idiot jumped from the pool, belly walked right on the water, and got up and walked away. And that was his thing, that's what he does. And again, what made him wake up one morning and say, boy, I'll bet I can jump into 3 inches of water from a 30-foot tower. I don't understand these people, but they're wonderful.
Stan, first of all, I'd like to say thank you so much for Spider-Man, because it's not just myself, but a whole generation of people who weren't jocks, who weren't athletic, who didn't fit into the social scene, believe that they could do extraordinary things because of your comics, so thank you so much for that. I want to ask you, what was your favorite Spider-Man serial? Which was your favorite to draw and why? What was your favorite Spider-Man serial? Which was your favorite Spider-Man to draw?
Which was your favorite Spider-Man serial or Spider-Man to draw?
Your favorite Spider-Man to draw?
To write.
To write. Well, there's only one Spider-Man to make, and he was my favorite. But what was the first part of the question? It was more in the beginning.
Yeah, he said they created Spider-Man and Peter Parker because it made him feel empowered. And so, can I ask you, what caused you to create Spider-Man? Do you remember the moment at which you conceived of it, and what were your hopes for the character?
Well, the thing that compelled me to create Spider-Man, of course, was greed. Wanted to make money. And actually, my publisher said, Stan, we did well with the Fantastic Four and whoever else we had. How about doing another one? So I wanted to do something different, and I thought, why not a teenage superhero? I didn't know of any of them. And why not a superhero who has a lot of problems? Because most of them didn't. I mean, a guy like Superman, his only problem was if he took off his glasses, he was afraid somebody would not know he was, or would know, or whatever the hell it is, Superman. I guess there was more to that, but I forgot. Anyway, so I thought that would be good, but I had to have a name, and what would his power be? And I've told this story so often that for all I know, it might even be true. But I saw a fly crawling on a wall. And I thought, wow, wouldn't that be a great superpower if you could crawl on walls? So now the next thing I needed was a name. So I thought, Flyman, it didn't have the right ring to it. Mosquito Man, Insect Man. Then I got down to Spider-Man. Ooh, it just gave me goose pimples. So I decided to call him Spider-Man. And then I decided, since he's a teenager, I'll give him a lot of problems. Because every teenager has a lot of problems. Usually keep them most of their lives. So I brought the idea to my publisher and I told him, and he said, Stan, that is the worst idea I have ever heard you come up with. Now, I didn't think I had come up with other bad ones, so I resented him saying that. But anyway, I said, what's wrong with that? He said, first of all, you can't call a hero Spider-Man because people hate spiders. Said also, you can't make him a teenager. A teenager can only be a sidekick. And finally, you say you want him to have problems? Stan, don't you know what a superhero is? They don't have problems, they're superheroes. Well, I walked out of the office with my tail between my legs. I was really shocked and unhappy. But what happened was, we had a book we were going to kill. Is this answer too long?
Oh, it's perfect.
We had a book we were going to kill called Amazing Fantasy. Now, when you're going to kill a book, nobody cares what you put in the last issue because you're killing it anyway. So I figured just to get it out of my system, I'd put Spider-Man in that book. And I tried Jack Kirby to draw it, but he made him look too heroic. So I said, forget it, Jack, and I gave it to Steve Ditko, who didn't draw heroes as heroic as Jack, and he gave it just the right look. And I put it in the book, and featured it on the cover, and forgot about it after I wrote it. Then, about a month later, after the sales figures came in, my publisher called me into his office and said, hey, Stan, do you remember that Spider-Man character of yours that we both liked so much? Let's make a series out of him. And that's how Spidey was born.
You mentioned Steve Ditko, and then you also mentioned Jack, I assume Jack Kirby. Why did you love working with those two artists in particular so much?
Oh, because they were the greatest storytellers with pictures. In the beginning, I gave them very detailed plots that I wanted them to draw. And they would draw up the story that I had given them. And then I would take their drawings and put the dialogue in. That's the way we worked. Instead of me giving a full script with dialogue, I would rather put the dialogue in while I was looking at the pictures, because I could make the dialogue match the drawings perfectly. If I did the dialogue first, sometimes the drawings wouldn't match it perfectly. So anyway, what was the question?
Why did you love working with Steve and Jack?
Steve and Jack were both great at coming up with ideas. And when I would give them a plot, I would tell them what I wanted the story to be and who the villain should be and what the problem was and how the hero would win at the end. And that was it. They would put in a lot of things I hadn't even thought of. For example, one day in a Fantastic Four story, I happened to look at the drawings and there's some naked guy on a surfboard flying around the sky. And I said, where did he come from? I never told you about him. It was the Galactus story. And Jack said, well, I figured anybody as powerful as Galactus, who keeps destroying planets, ought to have a sentinel who goes ahead of him and finds the planets for him. And to Jack, it was just a throwaway character we'd use in that one issue, and that was it. But I loved the way he drew him. He looked so noble and heroic. So I began to feature the Silver Surfer. And that's how sometimes things would come along. If you have a good collaboration, If a writer's lucky enough to work with artists like Jack or Steve, it makes it easier to do really good stories.
Right?
Right here.
Oh, there we go. Hello.
Hi. I noticed that you actually were featured in Video Game High School, and we're just wondering how you got involved with that, and what do you think of the show?
Video Game High School?
Did I get involved with that? Is this the Video Game High School?
VGHS with Freddy. It's an internet web series.
Oh, the Video Game High School.
The what?
The web series on the internet, Video Game High School.
To tell you the truth, I am involved in so many things that I'm not even sure what they are. For example, I play characters in some of the Marvel animated series. One of them is a Spider-Man series, one of them is something else. I never have time to see the thing. I never even have time to read the whole script, but they give me a script with just my lines. So I go to the studio and I read them magnificently, I might add. And as far as video games go, I've been in a number of video games where I was actually one of the characters. If you have nothing better to do, you could actually be me playing in this video game. But I'm not sure, I don't even remember the names of the games and so forth, so I'm not sure what you're referring to. It's probably something I've done that I've never seen.
You're a busy man. You talked a bit about creating Spider-Man. Can we ask you about creating Iron Man? I've read, and I don't know if it's accurate, that you wanted to create a character that people might not like. Is that true?
Not exactly. But a character, yeah, actually, yes. It was during all the communists, and we were worried about war, and we hated the military-industrial complex. Young people hated people who made armaments. They hated people who did anything that would help us in war. They hated war, which they have every right to hate. And I thought it would be fun to try to take a character that represented everything that the young readers hated and see if we could make them like him. So I came up with Iron Man. I fashioned him really after Howard Hughes, if you remember Howard Hughes, because he was an adventurer, he was a great businessman, he owned an airline, and he was also a little bit nuts. Toward the end of his life, he was very nuts. So anyway, I fashioned him after Howard Hughes. We were and it did, I'll tell you another thing, I gave him a weak heart. He had to wear something in his heart to keep it going, I forget. But because of that, we got more mail from females, fan mail, for Iron Man than for any other character. And it wasn't hard to figure out. Here was a man who was a multi-millionaire, now he's a billionaire, who was very handsome, who was very intelligent, very sexy, and even if he represented people who made armaments, the girls still loved him. So he turned out to be very popular. Now we have Robert Downey Jr. playing him, and everybody loves him. Yeah, I remember when I said, Bob, let me teach you how to act this role, and he was so grateful.
Over there, hello.
Yes, hello. Quick question here, Mr. Lee. Now, you had previously stated that of all the Marvel characters that have not yet had a film made, that Deadpool should be one with his own film. And now that there's an actor, a script, the writers, and a director already signed on, they're only waiting for funding. What do you think is the main reason for the delay for the film going into production?
Why do you think the Deadpool film has all the pieces in place but hasn't been made yet?
Oh, that goes for a lot of pieces, a lot of characters. We were all ready to do Ant-Man, we were ready to do Doctor Strange, the Black Panther, Deadpool, and believe it or not, Marvel and Disney are actually trapped by their success. There aren't enough days to work on all these products. There aren't enough people. And you can't put out one big movie right after another. You have to let the public enjoy the one movie, go to it and see it, and then when they're all through with that, bingo, the other movie comes out. You don't want to put them out at the same time. So one of the biggest problems they have is figuring out when will I do the next Spider-Man sequel, and Iron Man sequel, and Thor sequel, and Captain America, and the Avengers sequel. When will I do the next Deadpool, and Doctor Strange, and Black Panther, and the Inhumans, and the Guardians of the Galaxy, and anybody, they may be thinking of others I don't even know about. And it's not a case of not wanting to do it, but there are just so many hours in the day and so many people to work on them. And it's a great situation to be in. I mean, Marvel and Disney have the greatest success with these movies. I don't think there's ever been anything like it. One hit after another. And the awful thing about it, I have absolutely nothing to do with them. But despite that, I enjoy it, and I think it's great that it's happening. But Deadpool isn't being prejudiced against, I promise you.
You did create the character, so I'd say you have something to do with the films. Yeah.
Hi, it's really great to see you live. I had a question for you. Are there any superheroes or characters you created that never really made it to the public, that are kind of locked away in those unreachable corners of your mind or something?
Great question. We asked if there are any superheroes that you've created that have never made it out to the public that are still just in your mind or on the page.
Believe it or not, every hero that I've come up with, we've used in the comics. And by some strange accident, they've all done well and they've lasted. I have nothing, I can't say that I'm really tortured by the fact that I haven't been able to get this one done. See, also, I was in a good position. I was not only the writer, the head writer of the company, but I was the editor. So whatever I wanted to do, whatever I wrote as the writer, I would look at it as the editor, and I would say, wow, that's pretty good.
That's the trick.
So I wasn't frustrated. All my ideas were used.
Yeah, thanks. For all the Marvel stories that's been going on today, if you had the chance, is there any particular Marvel superhero story that if you had the chance to rewrite the way that you prefer it yourself?
If I had the chance.
Is there any Marvel story out there that you would want to rewrite if you had the chance?
Yeah, there's one. I don't remember what the story is. I came up with a villain. Jack and I were under a heavy deadline. We needed a book done. It was very important. One of the biggest problems we had was getting the books out in time. There was a time we were doing like 30, 40, 50 books a month. And I sat in my office. I had a clock on every one of the 4 walls. So no matter where I was facing, I could see what time it was, because this book had to be at the printer at this hour. This book had to be there, and so forth. Anyway, we were in a rush for a new Fantastic Four issue. And I didn't even have a story. So I quickly made up a title of a villain. Now I forgot. Oh yeah, Diablo. And I thought it was a great name for a villain, Diablo. And I wrote something, and Jack drew it, and we sent it to the printer. To this day, it's the only story I've written. I have no idea what it was. I don't remember it. I don't know if it was any good. We batted it out. I never read it when it was printed. I never had the time. So whatever it is, I think I would like to do it over, because it couldn't have been that good, or I think I would have remembered it. But anyway, did anybody here read Diablo? Yeah. Somebody actually read it?
Was it good?
Well, okay, then there's nothing that I have to do. Thank you.
I was wondering what your overall writing process is and how you go about it when you're starting a project.
What's your writing process? How do you go about starting a project or coming up with characters generally?
It's hard to answer. If I have to write it, for instance, with the Annihilator, I needed a new superhero. So I sat down and I thought, well, what hasn't been done? Everything had been done. But I said, well, what new superpower can I come up with? Luckily, I thought of a new superpower, which I can't tell you, I'm sorry, but I want to make sure you all go to the movie. And once I had the superpower, I said, okay, the next thing you need is to figure out how did the hero or heroine get their superpower. The origin is always important. You remember the Fantastic Four got hit with cosmic rays, and the Hulk got clobbered with gamma rays, and a radioactive spider for Spidey. In fact, that's why I took the cowardly way out with the X-Men. I couldn't think. I said, I'm not going to get all these characters and have to figure out a different reason why each got his power. I'll just say that they were mutants, that's all. They were born that way. And I couldn't think of any more. I didn't know any more rays besides cosmic and gamma. So what was the question? I'm off the subject, I think. I forgot what the question was.
That was perfect, I think.
Yeah. All right, but I didn't answer the poor guy. He'll be angry.
Hi, Stan Li. I wanted to say thank you so much for coming to Canada.
Hey, thank you for coming.
Like, legit, my brother bought me this ticket as a gift. Like, I wish he was here. And I wanted to ask you, how did you feel when you created the 1992 X-Men, the animated series? I'm rewatching it to remember my childhood, so.
Creating the 1992 X-Men animated series.
I felt pretty good. I don't even remember the damn series. It must have been, we have had so many cartoon series. It must have been good. Well, they were all good, but of course I'm prejudiced.
Morgan, after that, there's a young person on a chair up there who's been patiently waiting. But we'll go in the middle.
You not only can see that far, but you can tell it's a young person. I can see faces.
A young person or a very tall person.
All right.
Hi Stan, I just wanted to ask which storyline or character does your wife particularly like the most, and which one she doesn't, and does she ever take any advice from her for storylines or characters, or does she is she interested? Because I'm guessing that she has to be for some of them.
What is your wife's favorite and least favorite character you created?
She loves Spider-Man. And she doesn't have a least favorite. If I had a book that didn't sell and didn't make any money, I guarantee that would be her. Now, I have a question to ask you, very important. Is anybody taking a picture of this audience from here?
Oh, that's a great question.
I would love it if somebody can take a picture. I see a lot of photographers walking.
Yeah.
I would love to. My wife, I think, suspects that I just take a few days off. I would love her to see the amount of people in this room. If I could get a photograph.
Your friend's coming up right there.
I am so impressed with all you people being here, I can't tell you. And I'd love to show her. Is somebody
Max is there yet?
Great. All right, in the meantime, keep talking.
We just have time for 2 more guys. We got to wrap it up in a sec. So there you are, patiently waiting. There's the young person over there.
Hi, Stanley. I've always been waiting to meet you.
Well, here I am. And thank you.
What is your favorite character out of all of them that you've created?
What is your favorite character overall out of all of the ones you've created?
Well, I must be honest, I really love them all. But if I have to pick a favorite, I usually will say Spider-Man. Just because he's really the most popular, the best known throughout the world. He's like Walt Disney's Mickey Mouse. And so I guess Spider-Man. But I really love all of them. I love Iron Man. I love Doctor Strange. I love the Black Panther. I love the Fantastic Four. I could keep going. I am my biggest fan.
You talked a little bit about young people coming up today and the fact that it's a hard business to break into. I'm sure you get this question a lot, but I'm sure there are a lot of young, aspiring comic book creators out there. So is there a piece of advice that you give to people who are just starting off and want to make it?
That's the toughest question. If you're an artist, the best thing you can do is draw some art samples. Take your favorite character or the character you most want to draw and do some pages. Do them twice the size that they appear in the book. I forget what the exact measurement is, but roughly twice the size. Do a page or two, or 3 or 4, or make up a whole story of the character that you're doing. Make up your own situation, show how he or she would be talking to other people, running around, fighting, to give the art director an idea of how you would tell a story in pictures. But you must remember, your artwork has to be at least as good as what they've already got in the books. Otherwise, why would they use you? They'll just use the artists that they have. They're always looking for artists with a new style that might be even a little better. So if you can come up with a way to draw a script that will catch your reader's eye and tell a story beautifully and have its own identity, so to speak, that's good. If you're a writer, it's even harder. It's very hard for an editor. If you write a story, the editor doesn't really have time to read it. He's busy 20 hours a day. So the best thing to do is have stories published elsewhere. If you can get a story published in a good magazine, or if you could write a book, or if you've written a television series or something, and then you go to the editor and say, I'd like to do Spider-Man, or I'd like to write this or that, but I've done this. The editor will be impressed. He's a professional writer. I'll give him a try. But if you just knock on the door and say, I think I could write a story as good or better than that, here's what I've written, the editor probably won't even have time to read what you show him. It is very difficult. And another good way to get into the business is have a relative who owns the company.
Advice from Stän Li. How cool is that?
My question is, for any of your characters, if you could pick any actor or actress, who would you pick and why?
If you could pick an actor or actress to play any one of your characters, any actor, any one of your characters, who would it be and why?
Well, my favorite actor used to be Errol Flynn, but he's not around anymore. Any of you remember Errol Flynn? My problem is I don't know enough of the new actors today. Immediately I think of Robert Downey. I think he is just the greatest. I mean, what he has done for Iron Man, you can't picture anybody else being Iron Man. And I don't know any other young actors really that well that I would say, yeah, him. In fact, while I'm sitting here, I can't even think of any names. Myself, if I were younger, of course. It goes without saying.
Do you like Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk?
Oh, he's great. Yes. He's the new Hulk. Yeah, he's the new guy doing Avengers. And they finally found the right guy. Right. See, I forgotten his name. I'm terrible with names. Well, in fact, one last thing. The reason I gave most of my characters the first letter, the same first letter on their last name and their first name, is because my memory is so bad. So if I could remember that his first name was Bruce, I remember his second name was Banner. Was Bruce Banner Daredevil? My memory, whoever it was Bruce Banner, BP. And Reed Richards, if I could remember Reed, I knew the last name began with R, so that gave me an input. So that's why a lot of my characters are the same first letter and last letter. And now you know a secret that the rest of the world is not privy to.
Why do you love coming to conventions like this?
Because I don't have to take out the garbage. It's wonderful to be with fans. It's great to see your enthusiasm and to talk to you. And I don't know how much you're enjoying this, but I'm enjoying it twice as much.
And he enjoyed it a lot, right?